Hello and welcome to English Eve podcast, where English meets real life. I'm Sophia. Today, we're starting with something simple but powerful: morning routines. How we begin the day can shape our emotions, our energy, and even our English learning. And don't forget, you'll get a free PDF with today's transcript and practice exercises if you stay until the end. Joining me is Ethan, a finance student who scored 8.0 in IELTS while handling a busy study life. Ethan, welcome.
Thanks, Sophia. It's great to be here. You know, mornings are tricky. Some days, they feel like fighting with the alarm clock. Other days, they feel like a fresh page.
I can almost hear many listeners nodding. Tell us, how do you usually start your day?
I woke up around 6:30. The very first thing, I drink a big glass of water. Then I brush my teeth, wash my face, and stretch for a few minutes. After that, I make coffee. The smell of hot coffee fills the kitchen and makes me feel alive. I sit near the window, check the news, and write 3 small goals for the day.
That sounds organized. But do you always keep that routine?
Not really. Sometimes I sleep too late and wake up tired. Sometimes I waste time on my phone. But I've learned this: even doing one small thing right in the morning, like making my bed, gives me a sense of control. That's what I call a small win.
I like that term. A small win can create momentum. William James once said, "Act as if what you do makes a difference." It does. Even small actions matter.
Yes, and those actions become fuel. When I was preparing for IELTS, I often felt anxious. But every morning, I wrote one English sentence in my journal, like, "I feel tired but ready to study." That tiny action gave me focus and calm.
But Ethan, do you think one sentence really helps? Some listeners might feel it's too simple.
Good question. The sentence itself is not magic. But writing down feelings turns something invisible into something visible. It's like fog turning into a picture. Once you see the picture, you can decide what to do.
I like that image. So, instead of being lost in fog, you put your emotions on paper and they become clear. That's a shift.
Exactly. And even if the morning goes wrong, it can still teach you.
Can you share a story?
Of course. On my IELTS speaking test day, I forgot to set the alarm. I woke up late, ran out with messy hair, and almost missed the bus. My heart was racing. At first, I panicked. But then, on the bus, I took deep breaths. I told myself, "You still have time." By the time I reached the exam, I was calmer. The examiner even smiled at my crazy hair.
That's both scary and funny. And it shows how negative emotions can be turned into positive energy if managed well.
Yes, fear can freeze you, but it can also push you. The key is not to erase it, but to use it.
So listeners, here's a quick reflection. Think of your last messy morning. Did you let it ruin your day? Or did you find a way to reset?
And here's a simple hack. Say your actions out loud in English while doing them. When brushing your teeth, say, "I brush my teeth." When pouring coffee, say, "I pour my coffee." It may sound silly, but it's practice.
Talking to your toothbrush? That's a memory you won't forget.
Exactly. And if you live with friends, you can make it a game. Each person describes what they do in English. You'll laugh, and you'll learn.
Morning is like planting seeds. If we plant good habits, water, journaling, one English line, those seeds will grow into stronger days.
Yes, success doesn't come from one giant step. It comes from many consistent small steps.
So, to close this chapter, here's your action. Write 3 sentences in English about your morning. Then read them out loud with energy. That's your starter kit for learning from daily life. Morning is not only the start of the day, it's also the start of learning. So, we've looked at mornings, but what about the rest of the day? School, work, deadlines? They often feel heavy. And many listeners here are students or young professionals, so this part really matters. Ethan, how do you experience your daily challenges as a finance student?
Honestly, Sophia, some days are overwhelming. Finance is full of numbers, long reports, and group projects. I remember once I had 3 deadlines in 1 week. My laptop felt like a battlefield.
A battlefield. I like that metaphor. But let's be honest. Many students know this pain. What emotions came up for you?
Stress, for sure. Also doubt. I asked myself, am I smart enough for this major? But there was also pride when I finished on time. It's a mix, negative and positive.
And that mix is real life. But here's a challenge. Some listeners might think, I don't have time for English practice when school or work is crazy. What would you say?
I'd say connect English to what you're already doing. For example, when I had to make a presentation, I prepared slides in English. It forced me to use business words, deadline, teamwork, presentation, data. That way, I was doing homework and practicing English at the same time.
But is that realistic for everyone? Imagine a student in France or Vietnam. Their professor doesn't ask for English slides.
True, but they can still think in English. For example, when reading notes, try whispering in English. I open my book. I check the formula. I solved the problem. Simple sentences, but it builds practice.
I see. So the key is layering English onto daily tasks instead of waiting for extra time. That feels doable.
Yes, and sometimes challenges push us. I remember a group project. Everyone had different ideas and we argued. I had to explain my point clearly. I decided to do it in English, even though the project didn't require it. At first, my friends laughed, but then they started replying in English too. Suddenly, our fight turned into practice.
That's unexpected. A group conflict becomes an English lesson.
Yes, and it made us closer. Problems can become practice if we frame them differently.
Listeners, think of your last school or work problem. Did you only feel stress, or did you find a way to use it?
There's another story. Once, I completely failed to understand a lecture on statistics. My first reaction was to give up. But then I raised my hand and asked the professor in simple English, "Can you explain again in easy words?" Everyone looked at me, but the professor smiled and answered slowly. That small courage helped me learn.
That's a strong point. Asking questions, even simple ones, is a skill. And it's also practice in English.
Yes, and mistakes are not shameful. They're part of growth.
There's a quote I'm reminded of by Albert Einstein. In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. And what you just shared proves that.
Exactly. Each difficult class or stressful job can hide a chance to practice, to grow, to connect.
So, let's give listeners something practical. What's one starter kit habit they can try this week at school or work?
Okay, here's one. Choose one daily activity and describe it in English. For example, before a meeting, write 2 English sentences about it. I will share my idea. I will listen to feedback. It's short, but it prepares your mind.
I like that. And I'll add, after the class or meeting, reflect in English too. Write, I learned one new thing today. This reflection closes the loop. Yes, that loop builds consistency, and consistency creates results.
So listeners, don't wait for perfect time or perfect conditions. School and work will always be busy. But inside those busy hours, you can plant small English seeds.
Remember, challenges are not blocks. They are doors, waiting to be opened with small daily actions. After long hours of study or work, evenings arrive. Some people see evenings as just rest, but they can also be a space for growth. Ethan, how do your evenings usually look?
Evenings are my recovery time. I usually go for a walk near the park, listen to music, or cook something simple. Sometimes I watch a movie or just sit quietly with tea. These moments recharge me.
That sounds peaceful. But let's be real. Don't you also have evenings when you just collapse on the couch and scroll on your phone?
Of course, many times. But I try not to let it eat the whole night. If I spend 1 hour relaxing, I spend another 30 minutes doing something active, like journaling in English.
Interesting. But why journaling in the evening and not morning?
Because evenings carry emotions from the whole day. In the morning, I plan. In the evening, I reflect. Writing in English helps me process. For example, I write, "Today I felt stressed about my project, but walking calmed me." It's therapy and practice together.
I like that. It connects learning with healing. Still, some listeners might say, I'm too tired at night to write in English.
Yes, that's real. My advice? Keep it short. 1 line is enough. Or even just 3 words. Tired but hopeful. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency.
That reminds me of a quote by Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. Even small evening notes can lead to better habits later.
Exactly. And evenings are perfect for learning through fun. For example, I often watch cartoons or sitcoms in English. The language is simple, the tone is light, and it makes me laugh. Once, I repeated a funny line from a cartoon, and later I used it with a friend. He laughed so hard, and I remembered the phrase forever.
That's a good hack. So, evenings can be classrooms in disguise. But let me challenge you. Do you think relaxing with movies is as effective as studying grammar?
Not the same effect. Grammar builds structure, but movies build natural rhythm. You hear tone, pauses, jokes. They teach you how English feels in real life. It's like music. You don't only read notes, you listen and feel.
That's a strong analogy. Language really is like music. You need rules, but also melody.
Yes, and evenings are a good time to catch that melody. When you're relaxed, your brain is open. You absorb more naturally.
Listeners, think about your evenings. Do they drain you or do they refill you? What could you add, even 10 minutes, that grows both your language and your heart?
Here's a simple starter kit. Tonight, when you relax, choose one English song. Listen carefully. Write down 2 lines that touch you. Then, say them out loud with the same feeling. That way, you practice both language and emotion.
I love that. It's like carrying music into your memory.
Yes. And if you cook dinner, you can even describe the steps in English. I cut the onion, I fried the egg, I tasted the soup. It feels silly, but it works.
Your kitchen becomes an English class.
Exactly. And sometimes those funny practices stick better than serious lessons.
So evenings are not just about resting. They are about reflecting, recharging, and even rehearsing English.
Yes. Evening is the bridge between the day's stress and tomorrow's hope.
Remember, every quiet night can be a mirror. It shows you who you were today and who you can become tomorrow. Weekends often feel like a pause button. For some, they mean freedom. For others, they mean catching up on what they missed. Ethan, what do weekends mean to you?
For me, weekends are like a mirror. They show how I live during the week. If I was too stressed, weekends remind me to slow down. If I was focused, weekends give me a chance to celebrate.
That's deep. But practically, what do you do on a Saturday?
Honestly, I mix work and play. In the morning, I go to the supermarket, buy food, maybe cook something special. In the afternoon, I meet friends for football or just coffee. And at night, I often write a blog entry in English, short reflections about the week.
That sounds productive, but also balanced. Still, some listeners may feel weekends slip away too fast. What's your advice?
Yes, I've felt that too. My advice is set one small goal for the weekend. Just one. For example, write one English diary entry or learn 5 new words. Don't overload yourself. That single win gives meaning to the weekend.
But let me push back a little. Isn't one goal too little? Some people want to use weekends for big progress.
I understand. But progress grows best step by step. Imagine planting a tree. If you pour too much water at once, the roots drown. If you give a little, regularly, it grows stronger. Weekends are like that. Gentle water for your learning tree.
I like that metaphor. So, weekends aren't for running a marathon. They're for feeding the roots.
Exactly. And weekends are also for connection. Once, I had a very hard week. I felt burned out. On Sunday, I joined friends for a simple picnic. We laughed, played guitar, and shared food. I didn't open a textbook, but speaking English casually with them refreshed my confidence.
That's a good reminder. English is not only in books. It's in conversations, laughter, and even silly moments.
Yes. And reflecting on the week is powerful too. Every Sunday evening, I ask myself 3 questions. What did I do well? What was hard? What can I try next week? I answer in English. Simple answers, but they shape my mindset.
That sounds like a personal ritual. But why answer in English? Wouldn't it be easier in your first language?
Of course it would. But when I answer in English, I train 2 things at once: reflection and language. Emotions feel different in another language. Sometimes, writing I felt disappointed, but I learned to distance myself from the pain. It's like putting a frame around a picture.
That's powerful. So English is not only a skill, but also a lens to see yourself differently.
Yes. And that's why weekends are not just free time. They're transformation time.
There's a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson that fits here. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Weekends are the perfect time to decide who you want to be.
Exactly. And that decision doesn't need to be huge. It can be small. Choosing to write a line, choosing to meet a friend, choosing to rest without guilt.
So listeners, here's your starter kit. This weekend, choose one activity: shopping, cooking, meeting friends, and describe it in English. Then, before Sunday night ends, write 3 short reflections in English: 1 success, 1 difficulty, 1 idea for next week.
Yes. And remember, weekends are not about doing everything. They are about rising stronger for the week ahead.
So, let every weekend be a bridge from who you were this week to who you can become next week. Thank you for listening to the fresh and heartfelt sharing from English Eve podcast, where English meets real life. Remember this: the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. If today's stories touched you, don't forget to subscribe, share, or comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Download the free resources, transcript, vocabulary, and exercises. Check the links in the comments. Until next time, keep practicing, keep reflecting, and keep rising stronger.